Thank you for joining me for today's video. Welcome back, and if you're new here, a massive welcome to you. I'm Jessica, but if you prefer, you can call me Jess or Jessie. It's all good. A big thank you to Ohuhu for not only sponsoring today's video, but for sending me their Honolulu alcohol-based dual tip art markers to try out. And I cannot wait to show you guys what I've been up to with them. So without further ado, I don't know why I have to do that every time I open something up. I really like the fact that the markers come inside this carrying case because it means that I can go out and venture outside of my studio with the markers. Now I know that I might be stating the obvious here by saying this, but it really does make that much difference. Like, can you imagine having to put them in a pencil case and they would no longer be face up? Oh my god, this would give me instant anxiety. And it's helpful because it makes for less limitations as well. So when you're out and about and on the go, you have a clear visual of the colour or the colours that you wanted to choose from. So instantly I was loving this because your girl loves to create at the coffee shop. Starbucks, not being picky. I can see a lot of cool hues, some greys here, some hot pinks and coral tones. I'm loving all of that. You have 4 little separate sections as well. I did notice that the colours were a little bit mixed match, so straight away I realised that I was going to have to organise the colours so that my brain would function. But other than that, I was delighted to be met with such an array of colours. Beautiful. So not only do we have a spectacular amount of markers to choose from, but Ohuhu also provides us this pad to put under our chosen paper. Now this is to provide a barrier between the page you are working on from the page below that to prevent any bleed through. This is going to come in handy. Before we go any further with today's video, I would like to tell you guys about Ohuhu's Black Friday's deals that they have going on, where you can save a specific percentage off your order total. Now you can also use my unique code from me to you guys for a 10% discount off. So you can use this code on all orders on the Ohuhu website. Swatch cards are at the ready, but first I needed to do some organisation. And only after that shall we swatch. As I was swatching, it became apparent to me that the colours on the lid of the markers didn't always match up to the colours of the swatches, but that is okay because that is the whole point in having the swatch cards to begin with, so that we get an exact visual of what colours we are going to be working with, and then that way we can make good choices. And with each marker being coded, we can't go wrong. In addition to the markers, I also got myself these Fineliners by Ohuhu, but I won't be using these in today's video. I will, however, be using them in the much more near future. I also may or may not, I did splurge on new sketchbooks, and we had this conversation, didn't we, at the beginning of this year, that I wouldn't get another sketchbook until I'd completed the prior two that I'd already mentioned to you guys, but yet here we are with new sketchbooks once again. However, the sketchbooks by Ohuhu are the perfect combination for me to utilise to my heart's content, as the papers inside of the sketchbooks are 100% acid free, and this is so that you can achieve maximum blendability with the markers. Now the papers are a heavy weight at 200 GSM, and the papers are also super smooth, so you're not going to get any unwanted frays from the markers when putting them to this paper. Creations are really brought to life in these sketchbooks because you have that real cool tone from the white of the paper, so the papers are like a super smooth, crisp ice white. It's the best way that I can explain it, so it really throws your illustrations off of the paper. So sometimes you can mess up, and with that being said, Ohuhu's got your back, because you can tear the pages out of these books pretty seamlessly. So if you want to start over again, you can, and you haven't got the fear of showing any unwanted mistakes to anyone. Not that mistakes are a very bad thing, because we need to make mistakes at times to learn and grow, but if you're wanting to stay fancy, well, Ohuhu has got you covered with that being said. If you want to say frame one of your drawings too, or perhaps do a drawing for someone else, then you have the option to do just that. If you want a piece, say, that you've created to be much more than just hidden away inside a sketchbook, simply utilise the sketchbook's tearaway pages. I'm quite strategically placing some double-sided tape down on the back of a drawing I already created inside of the spiral bound sketchbook here. So I simply tore the page out after doing one of my marker studies, then placed the page back into the sketchbook to cover up the unwanted bleed through on the back of the page before it. This way your sketchbook looks more aesthetically pleasing to the eyes when doing a flip through. Later on in the video you will see me create on that prior page too. On the first page of the sketchbook, I'm experimenting with some of the coloured markers with different tonal values, so I'm becoming more familiarised with the markers and their credibility, achieving dimensionality and gradients so that I can apply these techniques and what I have learned from experimenting with them into my works later on. With the colourless blender, I found that it was great for softening the edges of colour, and it was also good for subtracting colour and taking colour away off of the page. I'm connecting both brush tips here to transfer the darker ink from the darker marker to the lighter marker. This way, when I swatch down the lighter marker, I achieve this overall gradient from dark to light. Now the lighter marker will eventually go back to its original state. For even more seamless blending, apply the colourless marker to the paper first, so you're like pre-soaking the paper, and then go over the top of it with the colours that you're wanting, and then this will help blend the colours even more seamlessly. So when I mentioned earlier on that the colourless blender actually subtracts and takes away the pigment from the page, this is what I was meaning by that. Essentially, it looks like we're bleaching the colour away. Another thing that I did notice was that when working with the markers, they don't have any kind of smell to them. Like, I've used markers in the past and they usually have like quite a strong smell. These don't have any of that. I was worried about the skin tones looking uneven and subjective, but I found that the markers had a nice consistency when contact was made with both the Ohuhu paper and Bristol board. Now Bristol board is what you can see me working on here, so I was also able to layer the markers without gaining any unwanted patches. I could also create some nice cast shadows as well on my illustration with more purple and grey markers, so markers with more cooler saturations. So I made a booby here. I went over my pencil line, and it's something that you should never do, but I did it. So I went over the pencil line with one of the coloured markers, but that was okay because I could clean my mistake up with the colourless blender. A very subtle mistake, but here's a before and here's after. So we're in way over a month later now, and I had done a ton of experimenting at this point, mainly in the smaller sketchbook. So I felt very comfortable with trying out another one of the Ohuhu sketchbooks, and I needed more space for what I was about to create, if not study anyway.